Hello folks, this is Sullla once again. We're going to be looking in this video at the mastery changes for Season 4. The Season 4 patches are not out yet. We're sort of crossing fingers that they're going to be out this week. However, what is out is we can see the new masteries for Season 4, and I have them pulled up here. So what we're going to do in this video is take a look at what's new in Season 4 and talk a little bit about what people are likely to do with masteries. We can play around with this mastery calculator, look at them. I also have the live client here for the Season 3 masteries by way of comparing them for anyone who's curious. So can compare and see what's different and all that sort of stuff. Return the points there. Now that said, this is the first week that this is out. These are not on the live client yet, so take everything here with a grain of salt. It's possible that these values might change. I think that's unlikely, but I think that they could change in some cases. And I could be wrong about a lot of this stuff too. This is just what I'm thinking from looking at these and then talking with a couple other people and just some preliminary thoughts. But I figure this is the kind of thing that people are interested in hearing, so let's go ahead and dive in. As sort of an overview for what these mastery changes look like, basically the offensive tree is the most similar to the old one. It hasn't been changed that much. It's probably the closest to the way it was before. The defensive tree, it feels weaker. It doesn't feel as good, particularly at the top of the tree. The defensive tree doesn't look very good if you only put 9 points in it. It actually looks pretty weak. And the utility tree is probably roughly comparable overall, but the utility tree is the opposite of the defensive tree. The top of the utility tree got a lot better, whereas the top of the defensive tree got weaker. Overall, though, the offensive tree seems like the best, in all honesty. It does feel like a lot of people will be speccing 21 in offense, and then potentially 9 in utility, which is a little different from what we saw in Season 3. But the offensive tree definitely, I'd have to say, feels like the strongest. I'm just not too enamored with the stuff in the defensive tree. And the utility tree is largely geared towards supporting and some champions that will have some unorthodox builds, like a Rise or maybe a Singed are people who want to go utility spec. But for the most part, I think we're going to see a lot of 21 or even in some cases maybe 30 in offense in Season 3. So anyway, let's go ahead and look at what they've done here. Okay, we'll go through, highlight what these do. This is a new point here in the offensive tree. Double-edged sword, melee, deal an additional 2% damage and receive an additional 1% damage. Range, deal an additional 1.5% damage, receive an additional 1.5% damage. This one, I have no idea what to make of it. I don't know if people actually want this or not. Hard for me to say. I really have no idea on this particular one. I guess it's better for melee, particularly if it's a melee champion with some kind of innate sustain, someone with some kind of innate lifesteal. Oh, and by the way, get used to percentage-based stuff, because Riot loves percentage-based things in Season 4 Masteries. There is very little flat anything. It's all percentage this and percentage that, so keep that in mind. But anyway, this one, I'm not sure. I've just largely left this alone when I was fooling around. Fury here, this is the same as it was in Season 3, attack speed up to 4 points, from 1.25% up to 5% attack speed. If you go back to the old one, pretty much exactly the same. I guess it's slightly buffed because it was 4% attack speed in Season 3, and now it is 5% attack speed in Season 4. But it's basically exactly the same. No real change there. Similarly, here sorcery is basically the same thing as well. Cooldown reduction, 4 points in it. If you go back to Season 3, cooldown reduction, although it is now 5% CDR instead of 4%. And that's nice because a lot of people would spec this and you'd end up at 39% cooldown reduction, which was always kind of irritating. But you'd see that a lot. Someone would be at 39% CDR. It's kind of weird. So now you get 5%. Now you'll be at 40% CDR. But anyway, basically these two are unchanged. No real difference there. Butcher here. This is very similar to the way it was before. Deal additional damage to minions and monsters. Basic attack and single target spells. There is something a little bit different though. In Season 3, Butcher basic attacks deal 4 bonus damage to minions and monsters on hit. You could put up to 2 points in this. Note that this was only basic attacks. In Season 4, basic attacks and single target spells deal 2 additional damage to minions and monsters. So this is going to be useful for most ability power champions as well. People who use spells to farm. Granted, yes, it's better for ADs, it's better for champions who aren't spell-based, who aren't AP-based, But that said, it's still pretty good for somebody, I don't know, like Rise, who is going to be casting out Qs to last hit, somebody like Karthus. So this is more friendly for ability power casters in Season 4, a little bit more friendly. All right, let's go ahead and start looking at the second rank. I'll just put points. You know what? Let's actually do this by halves. Let's go through the AD half of the tree first and then the AP half of the tree instead of doing it by levels. So if you're playing in AD, you probably want points in Fury. Here, Brute Force, very similar to what it was before. Attack damage per level. You can see right here, attack damage per level, up to plus 10 attack damage at level 18. This is, I believe, the same as what it was before. Let's see, yep, attack damage per level. It's slightly lower, but it's 3 points instead of 4. Still, if you're AD specking, you're pretty much going to take that. Note that you now have one more point available to put in something, so you'll probably put that point in Butcher, because you need to drop in another point. Alternatively, you can put it in this. Expose weakness, damaging an enemy with a spell increases allied champion's damage to that enemy by 1% for the next 3 seconds. I think this is pretty terrible, personally. You hit them with a spell, and all allied champions deal 1% more damage for 3 seconds. That just feels pretty pointless to me. I mean, I guess on like an Arum map, maybe, or Dominion, but 1% additional damage for 3 seconds? I don't know. I'm not feeling this one, basically. I don't think this is very good. So I would assume that you probably put a point in Butcher if you're specking in AD, or potentially you could put it in Double-Edged Sword. That's also a possibility, but one of these two. I would assume this because it makes it easier to last hit. But that seems like the way you'd set this up to me. Over here, let's mention this one, Feast. Killing a unit restores 2 health and 1 mana. I personally don't think this is very good. Keep in mind, every time you kill a minion, I guess, or a monster, a neutral monster in the jungle, you get 2 health and 1 mana back. That just doesn't feel very good, personally. Imagine if you're farming really well, at the 10-minute mark, you've got like 100 CS, 100 minion kills. You've gotten back 200 health and 100 mana. So you've basically gotten back like one and a half health potions. Actually, it's not even that because a health potion's 150. You've gotten like 1 1/4 health potions for killing 100 minions. And furthermore, it's not like you even got them all at once. Remember, you're getting them split up over, the course of 10 minutes. That just, I don't know, that just feels really weak to me. Now, you might still put a point in this anyway because of lack of other stuff to put points in, but this one doesn't feel too good to me, personally. Put this if you don't really have much of a choice elsewhere. But you'll see later on, you might end up putting a point in this anyway, just for lack of other options. But this feels pretty weak to me overall. Okay, now where the offensive tree starts to look different is in this third row, because Riot has changed this around. Under the old system, here in the third rank, what you had was weapons expertise and arcane knowledge. And this is where you got armor pen and magic pen. See? Physical damage ignores 8% of target's armor. Magic damage ignores 8% of the target's magic resist. So this is where you got armor pen and magic pen. That's now gone. That's not there anymore. Instead, the mastery for each side is this. You get flat attack damage plus 5 attack damage, and on the mage side, you get flat ability power. So you'll still take this, obviously, but it's, the armor pen is much further down in the tree. So it's a lot harder. Basically what this does is it's harder for a bruiser to go like 21 defense and then spec 9 in offense and get armor pen or magic pen. You can't really do that anymore. You just get flat AD. And yes, flat AD is nice, but it's not as good as getting what? 8% armor pen for 1 point? I mean, that's incredibly good. So to get 5 AD, sure, it's nice to get 8 ability power, it's nice, but it's a lot weaker. So that's a big change. That's probably the biggest change in the offensive tree is shifting the armor and magic pen much further down in the tree and forcing you to put 3 points in it to get that value. Other stuff that's different now, you're like, well, wait a minute, where do I put my extra points in now if I'm going offensive spec? Well, now you put your extra points here. Executioner is now in the third row as opposed to being down here in the bottom row. See, Executioner increases damage dealt by 5% to targets below 50% health. Well, now you get the same bonus by putting 3 points in this skill. Damage dealt to champions by 50%, increases damage dealt by 5% to champions below 50% health. So it's the same thing, but now you need to put 3 points in the skill, and you probably will because this is a very valuable skill. 5% more damage is quite a bit for champions below 50% health, so you'll probably still get this. And note that this is, of course, useful for both a physical and magic damage champions. This over here. We'll get into the spell weaving weird stuff in a minute. We'll come back to that in a second. All right, then down here at the fourth rank of the tree, Warlord increases bonus attack damage by 2%, up to 5% if you put 3 points in it. Note that this is not total attack damage, this is bonus attack damage, so you will only get this off of items that you build. This is where you'll get a bigger effect from Bloodthirster, an item like that gives you a lot of attack damage. This is actually not that great because it's bonus attack damage as opposed to total attack damage. And we lost it on the client here. Let's see, go ahead, put this in here. Let's see, this is the replacement for Brute Force, where you get the flat attack damage. Yeah, so Brute Force has now been shifted up higher on the tree, basically, to where it was before. Critical strike damage, yeah, so a lot of this stuff's been changed. Basically, there's a lot of the armor penetration has been stripped out. Like here, 8% armor pen. Here, another 5 flat armor pen. That's all gone. Much, much less in the way of penetration. So this is not as good as that armor pen that used to be in the tree. But anyway, if you're doing an AD build, you're still probably going to take this. And then you got the choice of some unappealing options here, because you need one more point to get down to Devastating Strikes, which is what you want. There's a good chance you'll just drop it into Feast. Killing a unit restores 2 health and 1 mana. Even though it's not that good, it's better than the alternatives. Or Double-Edged Sword, potentially you could take that. I guess you could put a point in Sorcery, but ADs don't really need cooldown reduction that much, so it feels a little weird. Probably put it there. Alternatively, you can take this. Killing a champion restores 5% health and mana. This one, I don't think is very good either. Dangerous game. Again, killing, it might sound great. You're like, wow, every time I kill a champ, I get 5% health and mana back. That's pretty good. It's not 5% health and mana. It's 5% missing health and mana. So keep that in mind. That's why this one's not so great. Not such a good ability. And then alternatively, I guess you could pick up Spell Weaving. I guess we'll talk about this while we're on the subject. Damaging an enemy champion with basic attack increases spell damage by 1%, stacks up to 3 times, max 3% damage increase. So if you hit somebody with an auto attack, your spell damage, that's basically any ability that you use. That's not necessarily magic damage, just any ability. So somebody like Riven can make use of this. Increases spell damage by 1% and stacks up to 3 times. That's okay. You know, that might be better than Feast. It might be better than Dangerous Game. I wouldn't say it's great for champions who aren't hybrids characters. This would be really useful, obviously, on someone like a Teemo or someone like Jax or someone like Kale, someone who sort of mixes magic damage with auto attacks. It would be really useful on them, not so useful on other champs. And then you would also want to take this Blade Weaving. Damaging an enemy champion with a spell increases base attack damage by 1%, stacking up to 3 times. So basically it's the opposite of Spell Weaving. And these two are going to be very useful for hybrids. That's another thing that people have noticed is in this patch, the Masteries really seem to favor hybrid AD AP champions. I don't know why. It's kind of random why they did that. And that totally factors in with the new Devastating Strikes as well. So check this out. Devastating Strikes. Instead of having separate Masteries that add Armor Pen and Magic Pen, you know, like in Season 4, you've got Armor Pen and Physical Penetration here, and you've got Armor Pen here in the Mastery tree. Now, they're just together. Flat 6% armor and magic penetration. So again, if you're a hybrid champion who deals mixed magical and physical damage, if you're Katarina and you're dealing both, then you love this because you're getting, you're doubling up on your stats. You're getting both armor and magic pen. But for most champions who deal either physical or magic damage, half of this benefit's getting wasted, and there's not really anything you can do about it because, well, you still want this. If you deal physical damage, you still want armor pen. If you deal magic damage, you still want magic pen. So you're still going to take this, but half of the damage is being wasted. And it's just kind of a weird ability. It's just kind of weird. I don't really know why they did this. It's like somebody at Riot loves hybrid champions because it's like they completely refigured the offensive tree to favor hybrid damage champions. So it's kind of weird. Anyway, over here, Frenzy, critical strikes grant 5% attack speed for 3 seconds, stacks up to 3 times, so most ranged auto attackers will want this because they're going to build critical strike of some kind. If you're playing Tryndamere, obviously you're going to love this, get the idea. So most ranged ADs will probably get this, and then finally Havoc, 3% increased damage. So basically, Executioner and Havoc have largely switched places in the tree. See, Havoc was over here before, Executioner was at the bottom of the tree. They basically just switched places. I'm not sure I quite understand the reason for that. But in any case, you can kind of see what this is intended to look like for a ranged AD. Overall, pretty similar, but less armor penetration. Much less of that. Riot said they want people to have to itemize armor pen, not just get it for free from Masteries. and you know, a little bit different stuff overall because they've eliminated this stuff over here, the lethality, and well, I guess frenzy's still in, but lethality's gone. That no longer exists. And sunder, just the flat armor pen, as I said, less flat armor penetration. So overall, though, it's fairly similar. It's not too different. Now let's go ahead and take a look at what this looks like for an AP. It's pretty similar overall, but we'll take a quick look. Okay, so sorcery, you want the points in cooldown reduction. Here, mental force, AP per level. Again, I believe that that's the same as it was before. Yeah, they called this something different before, but see, it was 18 ability power, 18 plus 18 ability power at level 18, 1 AP per level under the old system. Now it is 0.89 ability power per level. Wow, who comes up with these numbers? Okay, but anyway, basically the same thing. And then again, at this point, you'll probably just put a point in Butcher because I don't see what else you're going to put a point in. Even as an AP, even as like an AP caster, you still want the ability to, you know, farm minions easier. So I would think you'd still take this. I mean, maybe double-edged sword, but that still seems kind of weird. I don't know. It still seems kind of weird that you'd want that in either Butcher or double-edged sword. I still don't think exposed weakness is very good. I don't know. Call me crazy, but I'd just rather have 2 additional damage to minions and last hit easier than this. Anyway, then at the next level, of course, you want the point in this, Arcane Mastery, flat ability power. And again, as I mentioned before, that's the replacement for the Magic Pen in Arcane Knowledge before. So that is a nerf right there. The Magic Pen was much better, obviously. Then you, of course, will want Executioner because that works with magic damage champs as well as others. Here's where the AP tree does get a buff, though. And this is much stronger here for AP than AD. ADs get bonus attack damage increase. See, you get 5% bonus attack damage. Again, remember, that's only bonus attack damage, not all attack damage. APs, though, increases ability power by 5%. So that is for all ability power, not bonus ability power, whatever. So that's much better for mages, getting that. Increases ability power by 5%. So that's a lot better. And then, let's see what, you still need another point. You could put a point in Dangerous Game if you want that, although, again, I still don't think that's too good. You could put a point in Spell Weaving. That might be useful. But again, it's that same consistent problem where you get to 15 points in offense, and you're like, wow, I don't really want anything else here. I kind of have to put a point in something, whether it's Feast, maybe, or Dangerous Game, or Double-Edged Sword, or Spell Weaving. You know, you got to put a point in something. But what that is, I don't really know. Just dump it in Feast for the time being. Okay, then of course you want points in Devastating Strikes, and then you'll probably want to put a point in this, Arcane Blade. Basic attacks deal magic damage equal to 5% of ability power. Once again, who's this good on? Oh, it's good on hybrids! Yeah, it's really good on hybrid champs like Kale and Teemo and Katarina to a certain extent even, or Diana really wants this. But I mean, what else are you going to put the points in? You don't really want Frenzy. I mean, I guess you could put it in Spell Weaving and Blade Weaving, but again, that's also kind of a hybrid skill. I feel like most APs will just put a point in this. Basic attacks dealing bonus magic damage. I mean, what else? What else are you going to put it in? And then finally Havoc. So there's your 21 points. Now, again, there's a case been made that for hybrids, for a lot of hybrid champions, that you will put, hold on, actually, I shouldn't be taking this away. That for some hybrid champs, will just want to go ahead and go 30 in offense. So yeah, loading up on stuff like this. Hold on, we can get rid of some of the points that weren't so good before. We can get rid of, like, the point in Feast. I wish there was a return points button on this little calculator. All right, get rid of that point there. But yeah, I mean, if you are, if you want to go all out off, if you're like Jax and you get bonus from both AD and AP, then go for it. Just put everything in. Just load yourself up with bonus stuff, Devastating Strikes, and boom, there you go, 30 in offense. You just take everything in the middle of the tree, along with Executioner. You got your attack speed, CDR, attack damage per level, AP per level, ability power, and attack damage flat. Bonus attack damage, bonus ability power, armor magic pen, 3% increased damage, and Executioner. Yeah, I mean, you can, if you're a hybrid champ, you can legitimately go 30 offense, and it's not terrible. Like, it's not a huge noob trap anymore to do that. I still don't know if it's the best way to go, but the top of the defensive tree is very bad. It's not good at all now, so you're not penalized in the same way that you were before. Anyway, but that's what the offensive tree looks like. And most people will probably still go 21 offense, but now they'll probably go 9 utility instead of 9 defense because the defensive tree is not very good. Let's look at that now. I've talked a lot about this. Let's look at why the defensive tree is not that good. Okay, so first and foremost, let's look at the old defensive tree right here. Again, one of the big changes is all of the improved summoner spells are all gone, so no more Summoner's Insight, Summoner's Resolve, Summoner's Wrath. I probably should have said that before. Up here, so the defensive tree, why do people like the defensive tree in Season 3? Well, right here, you can put points in durability, gives you health per level. That's good on everyone. And then at the second tier of the tree, you get your choice of armor and magic resist. You can go 2 points in each for 3.5 magic resist. Or alternately, if you know who you're going to be laning against, you're like, oh, I'm up against Garen in top lane. Well, I'm going to grab 5 extra armor. I'll grab a point in MR. And then boom, I'm going to grab Veteran Scar for plus 30 health. I only need 9 points in the defensive tree, and I'm getting huge benefits. I'm getting lots of bonus health, I'm getting armor, I'm getting MR. This is awesome. So that's one reason why people love the top of the defensive tree in Season 3. Season 4, that is no longer possible because this stuff has been shifted around. In particular, the top 2 rows of the tree, the top row in particular, is not very good at all. So let's look at what's here. Block reduces incoming damage from champion basic attack by 1 and by 2. Okay, that's decent enough. Block was down here basically in the previous season. Hold on. We'll go ahead and pick that up. So here it is. It's the same thing. Reduces damage taken from champions. Although note that it's different. This was reduces damage taken from champions. So that wasn't just auto attacks. This is only auto attacks. After you put 2 points in the skill, you can then put a point in unyielding. Melee, reduce all incoming damage from champions by 2. Range, reduce all incoming damage from champions by 1. So if you're ranged, you can only get up to 3 damage reduction here, and you're only getting 1 if it's not coming from an auto attack. Whereas in season 3, look, you could have block and unyielding were much better. Reduces damage taken from champions by 2, so that includes skills, not just autos. And then this, reduce damage taken from champion basic attacks by 3, so you could get up to 5 less damage on, a Kennen auto attack early on in top lane. That's just much better. Yes, it was lower in the tree, but that's a lot better in terms of what that actually did. This is not that good. Block and unyielding, not that good. I mean, sure, take it, but it's better than the alternatives, but it's not all that useful. So what else is here? Recovery. Plus 1 health per 5, plus 2 health per 5. Yeah, health per 5 is always useful, but it's pretty minor. Let's be honest, it's pretty minor. If you look at what that was in Season 3, Perseverance grants up to plus 6 health regen per 5 seconds based on missing health. Yeah, nobody ever took this. Nobody ever took Perseverance because it was not very good. This was not really used in Season 3, and this is not that good in Season 4. It's just not that good. Remember, plus 2 health per 5, that would be on the little status bar you see under your champion, that would be it would be 0.4 health regen, because it gets divided by 5. 0.4 health regen. Yeah, it's not much. I mean, I guess it helps, but not such a big deal. Then look at this, Enchanted Armor. Increases bonus armor and magic resist by 2.5 or by 5% with 2 points in the skill. Now, that sounds good. You're like, oh, cool, I get 5% more armor and magic resist. No, it's not armor and magic resist. It's bonus armor and magic resist. So it doesn't come from your innate stats, only from stuff you buy in the shop. So if you buy that Thorn Mail and get 100 armor, you'll get 5 more armor from this. What this means is it's useful on someone who builds straight tank. It's probably worth it on them, but for anyone else, it's not very valuable. And in the laning phase, this is pretty useless. Pretty useless. If you get 20 armor, you buy a chain vest that's gives you, 30, 40 something armor. You get like 1 extra point of armor from it. It's pretty sad, basically. So this is not especially good. This is only useful if you're going to go all out tank. You build strictly bruiser tank items. You're building Randuin's, Spirit Visage, I don't know, just all tank items. If you're doing that, then this is worthwhile. If not, it isn't. And then finally over here, Tough Skin, this is the jungling items. Reduces damage taken from neutral monsters by 2, does not affect lane minions. Again, that's very similar to what we had here before, Tough Skin. So it is unchanged. And then the bonus, Bladed Armor, taking basic attack damage from neutral monsters causes them to bleed, dealing damage equal to 1% of their current health each second. Again, doesn't work against lane minions. So junglers will take this, but everybody else doesn't want this. Honestly, the Bladed Armor was probably better. 6 true damage is probably better than 1% damage return. So that's probably nerfed as well. Again, junglers will want to take that, but nobody else who's laning will. So what does that really leave us with if you're just trying to go like 9 points in the defensive tree? Well, what are you going to grab? Well, you probably take block because it's the best of the bad options. Either recovery or enchanted armor. If you're just like straight tank, you'll probably take this. And so basically the long version of this is the only people who are going to go 21 defense are like straight tanks, so you'll probably take this. Then you take Unyielding, and now you got to, put some points in. So obviously you're going to take Veteran Scars here. This is fairly similar. Now it gives a flat health bonus, plus 12 health per point, as opposed to in season 3 when it was health per level. So that's actually probably better, in all honesty. The flat health is probably better than the health per level. And then note that there's a new bonus for picking this one. You now get plus 3% max health. So this is now goes into Juggernaut, as opposed to before where it fed into this Veteran Scar, plus 30 health. So this is a little bit different, but I mean, health is good on everybody, so you'll probably take that. And if you're going to put 9 points in the defensive tree, you'd probably do this. It just doesn't really make sense to do that because the defensive tree is not very good overall. Block is not too good. Enchanted Armor is not very good. The Veteran Scar into Juggernaut, okay, that's pretty decent, but it's not worth giving up stuff in the other trees to take this. So yeah, I mean, Veteran Scar and Juggernaut, this is probably the best part of the top of the defensive tree. Health is always good, and 3% max health is actually pretty big deal. If you compare it to the old benefit was what, 30 flat health? Well, as soon as you top 1,000 health, you're getting more from this. As soon as you top 1,000 health, and 1,000 health is not exactly a lot. So most champions typically top 1,000 health at what? I don't know, like level 6 or 7 around there. So this is probably better, but it is weaker earlier game. So this is better for sort of late game. Anyway, let's look at the rest of what's here. So you do have the same stuff that you had before, hardiness and resist. These are the ones that add armor and MR. Exactly the same. 1 point is 2, 3.55, up with 3 points in the skill, 2, 3.55, 2, 3.55. So these are exactly the same, but they are now down here where you must spend 8 points in the tree to get them. So you can't get these if you're only going 9 points in defense. And that's probably the biggest reason why people won't go 9 points in defense, because you can't get to the armor and MR. They're too far down on the tree, as opposed to being here where, of course, you could get them with only 4 points invested in the tree. So that is a big difference. That's one reason why the defensive tree is so much weaker here in season 4. What else is here? Okay, let's look at some of the other stuff. There's a lot of weird stuff in the defensive tree. Oppression reduces damage taken by 3% from enemies that have impaired movement, slow, snares, taunts, stuns, etc. So if an enemy is crowd controlled, you'll take 3% less damage from them. I don't think this is very good. How often do you take damage from someone who's CC'd to begin with? I mean, I'm sure it happens, but it's not that often. And even then, you only take 3% reduced damage. I'll pass on that one, I think. I just don't see this happening enough to be that useful. Reduces damage taken from enemies that have been hit by crowd control. That just doesn't feel very good to me. I would skip this one, personally. Evasive reduces damage taken by 4% from area of effect magic damage. Again, it just feels a little too specialized for me. Only magic damage and only from spells classified as area of effect. I could see this happening if you're up against a big time area of effect team. You can reduce a lot of the damage in team fights, but outside of that very specific circumstance, this one doesn't feel that great. It doesn't feel like it would be very helpful in laning, to be perfect, if nothing else. So I would probably pass on this one. You can make a case for it, but I don't think it's that great either. This one, reinforced armor, reduced damage taken by critical strikes by 10%. This one feels better than the other two. I would lean towards this one more because there typically are, and somebody on the enemy team's building crit strike chance. If you're laning against Tryndamere on top, you definitely want this one. This one feels more useful. It's still a bit specialized, but it does feel more useful than the alternatives. Other stuff that's good here. This one actually is legitimately good. Swiftness reduces the effectiveness of slows by 10%. Yep. Grab that, take this one. This one's good. This one is carried over. Yeah, this one's carried over from Season 3, although it was called something different. Relentless. Reduces the effectiveness of slows by up to 15%. So, yep, you pretty much want this if you're going defensive spec. There's a ton of slows in the game. Oh, I mean, sure, if there's no one with a slow on the enemy team, but slows are very common in League, so I would suggest taking this. And then let's look at what is the best skill in this level. Perseverance. Perseverance is the one thing that kind of redeems the bottom part of the tree. Regenerates 1% missing health every 5 seconds, up to regenerates 3% of missing health every 5 seconds. This is a very good skill. This is the best at the bottom of the tree, in my opinion. Every 5 seconds, you get 3% of your missing health back. So if you're like a tanky bruiser and you're building a lot of health, you're going to be regenning a lot of health back from this passive. Well, I guess it's not a passive, but it's like one. You're going to be regenerating a lot of health back. Now, keep in mind, it is missing health. It's not max health. It's not total health, so it's not ridiculous. But you're going to be laning a lot of the time when you're not on full health, and this helps you regenerate a lot of it. Let me give you this case. Let's say you've got 2,000 health, and you're missing 1,000, so you're at like 50% health. That's a pretty common situation in the game, right? That's not exactly a rare circumstance. You're going to run into that kind of situation a lot. In that situation where you're missing 1,000 health, you are going to be getting back 30 health every 5 seconds. 3% of max health, so that's 30 health back every 5 seconds. So if you divide that out, that would be, 6 health per second. So instead of 30 per 5, that would be 6 health per second. If you compare that to the little old recovery up here, which is 2 health per 5, and you're getting 30 health per 5, you're getting 15 times the benefit from that little old recovery passive. Yes, recovery functions all the time, not just when you're missing health, but this is really good if you're building a lot of health, and if you're defensive specking, you are going to build a lot of health. This is very good. It's almost like having a Baron buff on you anytime you get low. I mean, that's really what it is. And again, I'm not even taking this to the extremes. Let's say you've got 3,000 health and you're very low. You're at 500 health. So you're missing 2,500 health. Hold on. Grab my little calculator here. 2,500 health times 0.03. You've got 75 health regen per 5 if you're in that situation. That's 15 health back per second in the game. That really is a free Baron buff in terms of health regen. Not mono regen, but it's a free Baron buff in terms of health regen. That's really good. So anyone who's building a lot of health will want this, and you're not going to defensive spec unless you're building a lot of health. So Perseverance is very good, and I mean, it even helps you early in the game when you're laning, when you're missing health. Buy an early Giant's Belt, and this will give you, this is like having free HP 5 quints, basically. So this one's very, very good. And it makes up for a lot of these other ones, which aren't that good at all. So let's look at the other stuff, shall we? Second Wind, I'm not a huge fan of this one either. Increases self-healing, health regen, lifesteal, and spell vamp by 10% when below 25% health. This does combine pretty well with Perseverance. Now, that said, it only increases self-healing by 10%, and it only happens when you're below 25% health. So there are some champions on whom this would be very good. Aatrox immediately jumps to mind. Volibear, for his passive, would be perfect to use this mastery point. But generally speaking, I don't think this is that useful unless you're a champion that specifically has a lot of self-healing. Other champs, I don't think this would be useful enough to pick this up. But for certain champs, this is really good. That said, I do think it's a little bit too specialized. This one here, Tenacious, armor and magic resist for every nearby enemy champ. You can get up to 4 armor and 2 magic resist for every nearby enemy champ. I mean, basically this comes down to how much you think you're going to be team fighting. I personally don't like this one all that much, but I don't think it's terrible. I think you can make a good case for it. This would be very good on Dominion or in an Aram situation if you're playing on the Howling Abyss, because you're basically in a team fight very, very frequently. Overall, I just don't like this one that much because a lot of the time you're just going to be getting 1 armor and 0.5 MR because, you're going to be just near 1 enemy champ. So I don't think this is that great, but you can make a good case for it. I probably personally wouldn't take points in this, but I could see people doing so. I just don't think that it's worth 4 points to dump into this skill. Yes, you can get 20 armor and 10 MR, which is awesome in a full 5-on-5 team fight. So maybe it is worth taking. Maybe it is worth it for that. That's a lot of bonus stats. But again, it takes 4 points in the skill, and that's a lot of points to sink into this. So anyway, and it's also very, very deep in the tree too. Keep that in mind. So hold on. Let me take a look at this quickly. Okay, so if you're, let's see, you've got, hold on. Let's see, how many points do you need? You need, these are live commentaries to see. Okay, so let's see. I'll just return all the points here for a second and start over again. Okay, so let's see. You've got to put 4 points in the top rank. I'd probably put them in this. Let's see. You want Veteran, Scar, Unyielding, and Juggernaut. At this point, let's see. I'm going to skip Oppression because that's not very good. Armor or MR. Let's see. You need to put more points in this. Okay, so basically it comes down to, do you want to put sync points into Like more flat armor MR, or do you want perseverance, or do you want tenacious? And my feeling is I'd rather have the flat armor and MR and perseverance than have the team fighting benefit from tenacious. But again, that's kind of a personal preference. If you are in a lot of 5v5 team fights, this is a really good skill. So just keep that in mind. Okay, now here's a skill that you won't be taking. Talk about a useless mastery point. Runic Shield. Start the game with a 50 health shield. This shield regenerates each time after respawning. So congratulations, you get a 50 health shield at the start of the game. In order to get that 50 health shield again, you must die. You have to die to get that shield back again, and then you'll get the 50 shield health back again. So on Summoner's Rift, this is bad, bad, bad. Maybe on Dominion, if you're going to die a lot, I could see this, because in Dominion you do tend to die a lot, but for Summoner's Rift, this is just terrible. It's really bad. Do not put a point in this on Summoner's Rift, unless you're doing some kind of really weird setup. This is a thoroughly horrible skill overall. Yeah, I don't get this one. And then finally, the last point is Legendary Guardian. Reduces the duration of crowd control effects by 15%. So yeah, of course you want this. Reduces CC by 15%. That's really good. It's like free Merc Treads or whatever. That is basically this here, Tenacious. Now at the bottom of the tree, here it is. But it only takes 1 point to get it now. So yeah, instead of putting 3 points in it, obviously you want to grab it because it's only 1 point. Obviously that's pretty good. Let's see. Legendary Armor, this is now at the top of the tree. The increased bonus armor and MR by 5%. Now that's at the top of the tree. People typically didn't take this in Season 3 because, well, it's bonus armor and MR, not flat, but now you kind of don't have a choice. Good Hands is gone. It's no longer in the game. Reinforced Armor, this is in the game again. And Defender, you can see that is now Tenacious. And you can put up to 4 points in it. But overall, the defensive tree is not terrible by any means. It's just most of the benefits down at the bottom of the tree. Like, where's the good stuff in the defensive tree? Juggernaut, hardiness and resistance, perseverance, and perhaps tenacious, depending on your feelings about this. And then Legendary Guardian is, of course, good because it's the 21 points. But all the good stuff's down at the bottom. The top of the tree is not good. So you really don't get much benefit from putting 9 points in defense anymore. You're just not getting that much benefit. And the defensive tree is very heavily skilled towards, like, super tanky champs. It's really good for someone who's going to build straight tank. Again, bonus armor and MR. 3% max health here. What's the other stuff? Stuff that reduces crowd control effects. This one here, Perseverance. Bonus health regen based on how much health you have. Like, this is all stuff that you need to be building straight tank to get a benefit from. So if you're not building straight tank, there's not much point in adding things to this tree. It's just not that good for you. So, to make a long story short, as I've said a couple times before, 21 offense, 9 utility for a lot of champions now. So let's look at the utility tree, shall we? Overall, it's not that different. It's still geared towards supportish champions, but the top of the tree is a lot better than it was before. Anyway, let's look at what we've got here. Phase Walker reduces the cast time of Recall. So this is exactly the same as in Season 3. Exactly the same thing. They called it Improved Recall before, but it's exactly the same. Reduces your recall. People typically don't put points in this, not seen as being that valuable overall. Fleet of Foot, 1.5% movement speed, so that's pretty good. Movement speed's always good in League, so it's a half point, 1/2 percentage per point in the skill. That's changed from Season 3 because this one was up to 2% movement speed, but only when out of combat. So that was the mobility boots benefit, only out of combat. This is only 1.5%, but at all times. So this is actually a lot better than Wanderer. As I said, the top of the utility tree is better. So a lot of champions are going to want this. If you're playing a ranged AD, you want this because this is very helpful for chasing and going after people. So I would suggest that. Here, meditation, still the same thing. Mono regen per 5. Up to 3 mono regen per 5. AP casters will probably want that. So here it is, exactly the same. Is totally unchanged from Season 3. This one is new. Scout increases the cast range of trinket items by 15%. I think most people will probably take this. Remember, it's kind of a supportish thing because we think of trinkets as being associated with supports. But remember, everyone will have a trinket in Season 4. All roles will have trinkets. And this increases the cast range by 15%. Your choices, so I think a lot of people take this. Basically, either take the movement speed and trinket. What the heck happened there? Okay, that's not what I wanted. Well, in any case, we were back soon enough. Either take the movement speed and the trinket, or take the mana regen and the trinket, but both cases seem pretty good. Of course, you could also say, I want movement speed and +1 mana regen per 5, and I could see that too. But some combination of these is likely to be grabbed. I don't think you'll be taking Phase Walker just because the other stuff is more useful at the top of the tree. All right, so let's go ahead and check out what's next here, shall we? Just stick a whole bunch of points in the top tree. Summoner's Insight reduces the cooldown of summoner spells by 4, 7, or 10%. That's pretty good. Reduces the cooldown of summoner spells. That is, I believe, unchanged from Season 3. Here, well, they called it something different. They called it Mastermind, but same thing. Reduces the cooldown of summoner spells by up to 10%. Now, in Season 3, people didn't take this because they wanted durability, veteran scars, and armor and MR. But now that you can't get them in the defensive tree, I can absolutely see like a ranged AD saying, you know what? I want my flash to come up 10% faster over getting the very questionable stuff at the top of the defensive tree. So I think we're going to see this taken a lot. Strength of Spirit is pretty similar, but a little bit different. Now it's +1 health regen per 5 for every 300 max mana. That's not that good unless you really build a lot of mana. I can see this being useful on Rise because he builds so much mana. I can't see it being too useful on too many other people. If you've got 2,000 mana, then you're getting, what, about 6 health regen per 5? Yeah, that's just not that good. It's just not that useful. I mean, there's really no reason to build that much mana. So think of this as Strength of Rise, not that useful for too many other people. Maybe on Singed, I can think of. This has been, where is it? Strength of Spirit was in Season 3, but it was way down near the bottom of the tree. Here it is. Way down, much, much further down in the tree. You had to be utility spec to get this before. Now you don't, but I can't. So, I mean, I guess it's useful in that sense. If you want to be Singed, you don't have to go way down in the tree to get this. But I still don't think it's that good overall. I don't think many people are going to put points in this because you just don't build that much mana in the game. Anyway, let's look at what else is really good here in Season 4, and that is the Alchemist skill. Increases the duration of potions and elixirs by 10%. This is really good. Really good. So every time you drink a health potion, you get 150 health, right? This increases the duration by 10%. Now you get 10% more health. Now you get 165 health as opposed to 150. That's really good because everybody drinks a lot of health potions in this game. So this is useful in pretty much every role across any situation you'd want. Everybody drinks health potions. This is really good. And then it has an upgrade here, Culinary Master. Health potions upgraded into biscuits that restore an additional 10 health, 20 health, and 10 mana instantly upon consumption. That's also really good. 20 health immediately every time you drink a health potion. And then it would scale with this. So instead of getting 150 health back, you're getting 165. You're getting 185 health back. That's a lot more. That's about almost 25% more. So you, Summoner, would you like to have health potions that are 25% more effective? Why, yes. Yes, I think you would want that. So these points are incredibly good. I really don't know why they're this good. So this is another reason why 2109, it was looking awesome, because you get these bonus improved health potions that are just amazing and are really, really good. By the way, it also increases the duration of elixir. So if you grab a red pot or a blue pot, really good there. And this is, of course, also useful for AP casters as well, or even supports. Yes, supports would like to have health potions that give them back more health too. I could see that. So this is useful for everyone, and it's one of the reasons why the top of the utility tree is really good. That's why I've said AP casters already went 2109 in Season 3, but now ADs, ranged ADs, are going to go 2109 probably as well. And it's largely due to these awesome health potions. Summoner's Insight, still quite good. And movement speed, all really good. This is all stuff that ADs want. So yeah, this stuff at the top of the tree is awesome. Plus, the alternative is, if you don't want the biscuit, you can grab this, Runic Affinity, still here, unchanged. 20% longer Shrine Relic Quest and Neutral Monster buff. So you've got your red buff and your blue buff for 20% longer. This has been unchanged for a very long time, has always been great. AP mids might want this over the biscuit, I don't know, hard to say. But they're both really good options. Both really good options. Some people have even said, you know what, I'll just skip Havoc, I'll put 20 points in offense, and I'll grab both of these. I'll go 20-0-10 because these two are just that good. And they might not even be wrong about that because both of these are really good options. So the top of the utility tree, really nice. Really, really nice. Now, the bottom of the tree, not so good, but the bottom of the tree is more intended for supports. The only people who are intended to put 21 in utility are supports. So, looking back at the old stuff, again, here's the old Runic Affinity, exactly the same, no different. And Vampirism here, grants Lifesteal and Spell Vamp, up to 3%. I believe that is also unchanged. Yep, see, exactly the same, Lifesteal and Spell Vamp, unchanged. Again, this typically isn't used by too many people because it's in kind of an odd place. You can't get this benefit unless you're going 21 utility, and most people who go 21 utility don't want this. So again, this is limited to, again, I hate to keep coming back to this champ, but Rise is one of the few people who really uses this. I mean, I'm sure you can come up with some others, but most champs don't take this because it's just in kind of a really weird place on the tree to get this, but it's unchanged from the previous season. Okay, over here, Greed, this is the support mastery, gold per 10, 1.5 gold every 10 seconds. That is largely unchanged from season 4, or season 3. This one, basically the same, except you could put 4 points in it instead of just 3. But other than that, exactly the same, no different from before. So you'll put points in this. Let's see, let's reconfigure this for a support setup, shall we? Because we're going deep into the tree. And we'll do this like we're playing a support. Okay, so what do supports want? Well, they want movement speed, because they're going to be running around out of combat, placing stuff on the ground. They probably want the Trinket Mastery. Granted, Mana Regen's good, but I think you want the movement speed more as a support. Obviously, you want Alchemist, you want Summoner's Insight, so your Summoner spells are up more often. You want the Biscuit, and then you want Greed. So there you go, there's your 12 points, something like that. Yes, you can change this around if you want the Mana Regen, but other than that, I don't see much different. You don't want the Runic Affinity as a support. Can't see Phase Walker being that useful, but so probably going to look something like this. Now we get to the bottom of the tree, so let's look at what's here. Scavenger, this is new. +1 gold each time an ally kills a nearby lane minion. Well, if you're supporting in bottom lane, you're probably going to want this. Gold every time a nearby ally kills a minion. So yeah, you get a little bit of gold. More passive gold income. This did not exist at all in Season 3, so that's totally new. Go ahead and put a point in that. And wealth is now 1 point. +40 starting gold. Before, in Season 3, this was 2 points and increased starting gold by 50. So you'll have 10 less gold to start with as a support. 10 less starting gold. I don't know what effect that will have, but we'll see. So you have a little bit less gold. Over here, Expanded Mind, +2% increased maximum mana. Again, I see this being used on Rise. I don't see this really being used on just about anyone else. You can get up to 5% increased max mana. It's so far down in the tree, I can't see a support putting points in this. I can't see anyone else wanting this. Percentage max mana just is not that useful unless you're Rise and you're building it to increase your damage. I don't believe that was in the game at all. No, that wasn't in the game at all. They had this Expanded Mind, which was much earlier on the tree, but that was just flat mana per level, which was a lot more useful. Flat mana per level was way more useful than this percentage increased max mana. So this is not very useful. As I said, Rise and nobody else. Then over here, Inspiration. Experience, you get experience every 10 seconds when near a higher level allied champion. This can be useful for supports to help them from falling behind in levels. The problem is I'm not sure that the value is high enough to be that useful, is just the thing. How much experience is +10? It's basically +1 experience every second. That's just very low. I'm just not sure this is enough to matter. If you've ever looked at the experience bar when you're playing this game, you need like well over 1,000 XP to increase levels once you get to like level 10 or 11 or 12 or something like that. And +1 XP per second is just, it's so low. I feel like this is just too low to matter overall. So I'm not sure if this is even useful. It might just be better to say, hey, you know what? I'll just grab more points in, meditation to open up the lower parts of the tree. I could totally see that happening because I just think the value is too low. Like, +1 XP per second? Like, that's nothing. That's so low. Every creep that you kill gives you, like, I don't know, I believe each minion gives you, like, 50 experience, something like that. So, I don't know. This one the numbers might be off on this one. I'll have to go in game and play around with it to find out. But people typically didn't take this in Season 3, the increased experience earned by 5%. And if they weren't taking that, I can't see this extremely minimal experience gain being that helpful. So I would, my gut instinct is skip this one. It's not that good. Just grab bonus mana regen or something instead if you're trying to get down to 21 points. Or if you're trying to get down to 21. Although I'm not sure that you really do need 21 points in utility. It might be best, you might be better off just grabbing Grabbing 14 in utility and then 16 in offense or 16 in defense might be a heck of a lot better because the stuff at the bottom of the tree is not all that good on the utility tree. But for the moment, let's assume you're going 21 utility and look at what's there. Okay, Bandit, check out this one. Melee grants 15 gold on champion killer assist. Ranged grants +3 gold each time an enemy champion is attacked. Can't trigger more on same champion more than once every 5 seconds. I really don't know what Riot's doing with this one, in all honesty. It's really good on ranged. It's really terrible on melee. Shouldn't it be the other way around? Like, shouldn't the melee get the bonus benefit? This one really doesn't make sense because the melee benefit is like nothing. 15 gold on a champion killer assist, that's not even 1 minion kill's worth of gold. That's pathetic. But on ranged, every time you attack an enemy champion, you get +3 gold. That's really good. So I'm just like scratching my head here. Like, what is up with this one? It's really good on ranged. It's almost useless on melee. Honestly, if I'm melee, I would rather just have the ranged benefit. In all honesty, I think I'd get more gold out of it. So yeah, your guess is as good as mine. But support Annie, support Zyra, champs with really long range autos. You definitely want this if you can. Granted, then you have to put 17 points in utility, and you might not want that. So I don't know. Over here, intelligence. Cooldown reduction, 5% CDR, reduces the cooldown of activated items. This is very good on supports. If you're going into the utility tree, then if you're going 21 utility on a support, you definitely want this. 5% CDR is hard to pass up. Of course, you can also get 5% CDR in the offensive tree too. You can get 5% CDR there. So do supports really have to go this deep in the tree? I'm not sure that they do. We'll see. But in any case, you can grab that. And then the final one is 5% movement speed out of combat. So it's like a little bit like a free mobility boots in a sense there. So this is also obviously pretty good, but I don't know. It's not mandatory by any means. So I could totally see supports just saying, hey, you know what? Thanks. I'll just put 14 points in this skill. I can get pretty much everything I want as a support. And then I've got 16 points free to dump into offense. Hey, you know what? Let's get some CDR. Let's get some AP. If maybe you want, I don't know, get the Butcher, even though you not that useful for support, but you got to dump it in something. I don't know, maybe you put it in exposed weakness for support. And then it's like, hey, I'm going to get AP. And what else can I get here? I can get Executioner. And then I can get more AP. And then I can even dump 1 more point somewhere of my choosing. I can even, I don't know. Well, I'm struggling to find where to put that last point, but you could put it in something. I don't know, attack damage, something. Maybe instead of ability power, you could even do this, right? Now you got a flat attack damage for auto attack harass. You could do this, 16-0-14 if you want. Got a lot of early game harass coming in from a support if you do something like that. I don't know. Possibility. Or if you want to, have more survivability, 14 utility, 16 in defense. Obviously, you want block. This is useless. So go for the health regen. You're not going to want bonus armor and MR if you're a support. Veteran Scar, Unyielding. Juggernaut, probably. I don't know if you'll get enough health to back this up. And there you go. 15 points. And dump another point in somewhere in this tree. Perseverance, Oppression, Swiftness. Maybe Swiftness could be useful. I don't know, something like this. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty darn good, right? You've got your bonus armor and MR, extra health. You got flat starting health, more health, little health regen. You got the block. This feels a lot more useful than sticking more points in the bottom of the utility tree to me. That's just my personal thought, but it feels like this is a lot better. Like, you're a lot tankier earlier in the game, which is when you're going to get bursted down. Flat armor and MR, bonus flat health, produce the health regen, the block. I don't know, it just feels like that would be a lot better for a support than, I don't know, having to put points in silly mono regen and a little bit more CDR. I don't know. I mean, obviously there's more than one way to do this, but I feel like 21 util is not that useful unless you're, I don't know, Rise or Singed or somebody who really wants all that. But anyway, that's a look at the support tree. So overall, I'll just do a quick AD build here. Let's just skill this up like we said. Grab this, grab Butcher, attack damage, Executioner, Warlord. We'll put a point in Feast, even though I don't think it's that good, as I've said before. And I still got points in utility tree. Forgot about that. Oops. And again, I wish there was a return points button here, but there isn't. Not on this particular thing. And then Devastating Strikes, probably Frenzy, Havoc. And then in Utility Tree, what do I want if I'm an AD? I want Movement Speed, probably want that Trinket increase thing. I want Summoner, Duration, and then this. Or alternately this, one of the two. But probably this. There I go, there's my AD setup, something that looks like this, 2109. In other words, just the way we did it in Season 1. Back to Season 1 again. That's how we did it in Season 1. If I'm an AP caster, then I do something very similar, but I just take slightly different things. Up here, obviously in the offensive tree, I'm going to take Sorcery for the CDR. I'm going to take Mental Force. I'll still grab Butcher, Arcane Mastery, Executioner, maybe Feast, maybe Spell Weaving. I don't know. I'll just put it in Feast right now. Archmage, Arcane Blade, Devastating Strikes. There we go. There's my 21. And then over here, we'll do it a little bit differently. Most mages probably want the Mono Regen because they're more Mono Regen limited. Either the Trinket or the Fleet of Foot. Want that cooldown reduction, and probably want this so that you can use the blue buff for 20% longer. That's pretty useful on most AP mids. Something that looks like that. I already did the support setup. Let's just do one setup for a tanky bruiser. Like someone who's going to go 21 defense. The question is whether they'd want 9 offense, whether they'd want 9 utility. That I'm not so sure of. Hold on, what can you get for 9 offense? Just flat attack damage and flat AP. I don't know if that's that useful. Not sure. You might want the utility. Might be better to get utility spec. Let's experiment with the utility spec, shall we? So this is for like a straight up tank. This is someone who is just going to be the tanky front line. Something that looks like this. This is the way I would do it. Obviously, you can do it in other ways. Grab Tenacious, Legendary Guardian. We want that movement speed, either the Mono Regen or the Trinket. Hard to say. Get the Summoner cooldown, and want the Biscuit, because I want that health regen for top lane. Yeah, something that looks like this. That doesn't feel that bad. Like would a tanky bruiser need attack speed and CDR? Maybe. The CDR could be useful if you're an AP bruiser, but the attack speed doesn't feel that useful. Attack damage per level, AP per level, that's not that good either. And then there's no armor or magic pen. So like this is just 5 AD flat and 8 AP flat. That's not that useful on someone who's going to be building straight tank. Like in Season 3, yeah, you wanted 9 offense because you get armor pen and magic pen, and that's huge, but you don't get that in Season 4. So I feel like that 9 utility is going to be better for most roles. I really do. If you're a bruiser, like you don't need 5 AD, but what you really could use is Flash coming up 10% faster and really awesome health potions. Like that's useful, and movement speed. Movement speed's always really good. Anyway, those are just my thoughts. This is still early. We don't know, but I do think that I don't think I'm totally wrong on this. Let me just put it that way. I did spend some time thinking about this, and from talking to some other people, they seem to feel similarly. So again, all my predictions could turn out to be completely incorrect. I don't know about this, but I don't think I'm fully wrong. Let me just put it that way. So in any case, if you haven't looked at this, sign into League, and you can see all the masteries right on the client. I actually have this linked. I actually linked this from the client, opened it up, and there's a link right to it on the login screen. So in any case, feel free to play around with this and see what you think as we continue to wait for this patch. But hopefully we'll be out this week. So anyway, I rambled on long enough. Once again, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Until next time, have a great week. I'll see you guys later. Take care.